Welcome players, racers, and/or enthusiasts to Dracom Tries Racing. We're playing Assetto Corsa Competizione today, otherwise known as ACC. We have a couple of races to take a look at here, both of which are part of the LFM, or Low Fuel Motorsport League. Now, I'm relatively new to this game, especially the multiplayer aspect, so for now these races are part of the LFM Rookie Sprint Series, as I am very much a rookie. It's week 4 at LFM, so we're going to be at Zolder today, and for this first race I managed to qualify P5. As for the car, we are in the 2020 Mercedes AMG GT3 EVO, a car that I've become relatively attached to early on here as I just kind of like the look and feel. Now it's time to start race 1. Now immediately here we're going to have a pretty rough start, as everybody keeps it really tidy into turn 1. However, I forget to accelerate on the exit, letting several cars go by, and now all that can go through my head is please, please, please don't hit anybody here at the beginning. Right now it really is my worst fear to cause a big incident at the beginning of a race. I'd rather perhaps be overly cautious and lose some positions rather than be too aggressive. I definitely have a lot of work to do on my racecraft. And as we come down towards the Klein chicane here, probably the scariest turn on the track for me, we'll see evidence of this as I just really don't do a good job holding my position. In fact, we have a little bit of contact going through the chicane here, and that in turn causes me to lose another 2 positions. So dang, half a lap in, we've already lost 4 positions. It really isn't going well, but at least we don't end up in a situation like behind us here as the carnage kicks off a little bit, cars going everywhere. Heck, I feel lucky we weren't involved with that happening only 1 position behind us, but at least that gives us an opportunity now to kind of calm down and try to focus on the race ahead of us as we settle into P9. Now I'm going to skip forward a little bit here to round out the first lap as we lose a little bit more ground to the cars ahead, and we can see as we come up to the finish line we're about 1.2 seconds behind the P8 here. As we come into turn 1, we can see there's a 3-way battle starting to develop in front of us, hoping maybe we can take advantage of that, catch up a bit. And we do. By the time we get to the Klein chicane, we're able to close that gap to less than half a second. We start looking up towards the next chicane here, hoping we can close the gap a bit more, but before we can, things start to kick off a bit again as the 2 McLarens up front make contact. One taking out the Ferrari for us, giving us 2 free positions up into P7. Definitely not an uncommon thing to see at this level. I'm sure I'm going to be responsible for some of that at some point. But now all we can really do is try to settle in behind P6, see if we can close the gap over time. But I'm going to skip ahead a bit here because not a whole lot happened over the next 5 laps. Until we get down into the Klein chicane again here, we can see that P6 is caught up to P5, hoping maybe they'll engage in another battle and we can close the gap, and it looks like we're already closing it as we come into the second chicane ahead. They're getting pretty close up there now, but it looks like P5 ends up going a little bit off, misses the braking point, ends up in the gravel, graciously lets me and the McLaren go by. Another position gained, and now we're up into P6. So we've managed to recover a decent amount of ground as we're only 1 position behind from where we started now. Gonna jump forward a little bit again though, as nothing really changes over the course of the next couple laps until we start to catch up to P4 here. And at this point I'm gonna let the race just play a little bit as we try to keep up with them as they potentially start to engage into a battle, and we see if we can get involved as well. Coming to the end of the lap here, we managed to hold the gap pretty close, staying close in tow behind P4 and P5. But as we come into the first turn here, we're going to see P4 goes definitely wide, carrying a bit into the gravel, bounces a bit, loses a lot of speed as we try to go on by. Now I focus a little too much on the mirror here, definitely missed the apex, go a bit wide, which keeps him now close behind, putting us into a situation here where we've got one car ahead, one car behind, hoping to attack the one up front, but may need to defend against the one behind. We'll see how it goes. For now, I think I'll be quiet for a few minutes here though, let the race run, and we'll see how it develops. Alright, I'm back here as we come into the second chicane. As we can see, not a whole lot changed as everyone was holding the gap pretty consistently. But as we come through this chicane here, we're going to see the car behind ends up going a bit wide on the exit, catches the grass and loses control, hits the barrier, and an unfortunate end of the race for him, but that lets us kind of relax a little bit. We definitely have a big gap behind us now. We can just focus on trying to catch the McLaren ahead of us and see if maybe we can at least get P4. Skipping ahead here, we'll see that it really actually wasn't successful. I ended up losing ground to P4 ahead. And as you can see, the race is timing out, which means we're going to be coming into the end here. But there's a little bit of an interesting development for me, as we can see P4 is coming up to a back marker. Hoping maybe they actually get into it a little bit, and maybe I can close the gap. 2 seconds is a lot at the finish here. And sure enough, we'll see the time does start to come down a bit, but it just really isn't going to be enough. But to be honest, I really will take P5. We started there in qualifying, lost some ground at the beginning. We were able to make up the ground again. Really, more than anything, I'm just happy to get through the race cleanly. There we go, into the finish. Definitely had a lot of fun in this race. Really wish I had been able to bring up my race pace just a bit, but P5 it is. Now this brings us into race 2. Also here at Zolder, still week 4 LFM, Rookie Sprint Series. Qualified P2 in this one, so really excited to maybe get in a good race with P1. Hope we can pull away from the rest of the pack behind. Unfortunately for me though, that is not going to go to plan, and the only one to blame for it is myself. We'll see coming up into turn 1 here that my nerves definitely take a bit of hold. I start to get loose immediately, which makes my worst fear start going through my head of causing an incident early in the race. And sure enough, I get a bit of a tap onto the McLaren there, unsettle the car. Luckily I don't unsettle anyone else, and now I'm just trying to kind of stay out of the way for a moment as I re-accelerate, let a few cars go by. And for now, we're just going to settle into what I think is P6 here. ACC sometimes doesn't update the positions immediately. And there we go, yep, P6. As we come down into the first climb chicane, we can see there's a bit of contact between the cars up front, but nothing too crazy, just a cone flying around. For the rest of the first lap, things settled down pretty well. Once again, just as in the first race, we lost 4 positions right off the bat, and now all we can really do is try to get them back the best we can. All in this race though, I really didn't carry as good of a pace as I did in the other one. There was definitely some closer racing to be had, which can slow me down a little, but it was good racing. Coming into this hairpin here, I actually thought I was going to hit this Porsche in the back. I go a little wide to avoid. The red Ferrari behind tries to nip inside, isn't quite able to do it. Coming into the S's here, we'll see a different green Porsche actually ends up going into the gravel, cutting the track a good bit. Didn't end up losing any positions, maybe getting a warning for track limits. That's the first lap done, and now the hunt begins to get back the positions I lost. See over the course of this race here that I don't think I quite got my tire pressures in the right area, and I was definitely just harder on them overall, which won't affect me here for a little while, but towards the end it starts to become quite noticeable. Coming into the Klein chicane for the second time in the race, we end up getting a pretty good run on the Porsche, hoping to maybe be able to make the pass before the next chicane. Coming up right alongside in a drag race. Things definitely feel like they're going to be tight going into the next 3 turns, but right as we get up, the yellow Ferrari spins, goes right into the barrier. Porsche and I staying close through the turns. He stays just ahead, nice respect being shown. I decide to go ahead and back off here. Didn't feel great coming into this turn and thought maybe I could go ahead and cut my losses with the 1 free position, fall back in behind the Porsche at P5. Throughout that bit of chaos, that gave the cars behind a bit of a chance to catch back up, almost nipping on the inside there with the red Ferrari, but pulling back ahead as we come in towards the end of the lap. The green Porsche ahead here definitely goes wide right into the gravel, kind of cuts the corner and manages to stay ahead. Slows them down a bit, but I was too far behind to really take advantage. And through the next lap, we held the gap pretty steady. Not really any gains happened here, but coming into these S's at the end of the next lap again, the green Porsche is going to go a bit wide on the exit, really going to slow him down. That gives me the run coming down the main straight, so I'm going to look here on the inside. He's going to come down to block, decides against it, returns to the racing line. I get on the inside and look to hit this apex as narrow as I can. He concedes the position, and we're up into P4. So now I'm looking at the time. I see we got about 4 seconds gap to the positions out front. Definitely want to close that as fast as we can. As we come around these turns though, we're going to see the Porsche in P3 come flying across the track, parking it right on the gravel. Unfortunately in a really good position to see a few cars go by, giving us a free position up into P3. But it doesn't stop there, as the other green Porsche definitely misses the braking point going into the Klein chicane, drifting off into the gravel as well, giving us plenty of space behind to start looking up front. Now we're going to skip ahead a bit here because it took a few laps to get the time down, now just 3/10 ahead. See, my lap times in this one just really weren't as good as the last race. Just wasn't able to bring them down even when I had some space ahead, but we've fallen back behind P2 here. Gonna be hoping to look for a gap at some point, but unfortunately we kind of stayed here for a while. In fact, I think I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead again, about another 5 laps ahead, and then I'll let the race play out a little bit from there. So here we are on the 13th lap, still riding behind. Coming up on a back marker here, thinking maybe they can inadvertently help me get by, but they obeyed the blue flag here, definitely got over, let both of us go through on the inside, which was nice. And now we've got a lot of open road in front of us, and you know, I was having a lot of fun trying to figure out how to get past this guy. And quite frankly, was having a lot of trouble. Zolder is a really difficult track for me to kind of figure out how to pass. And you may notice here that the right side tire pressures are starting to get a bit low. Definitely didn't get those set up right at the beginning of the race and I'm really wearing them out. But for now I think I'll kind of go quiet again and let the race play for a little while. it back again, coming down into the Klein chicane for the 15th time here. I had noticed the last couple laps I was able to make a lot of ground here. Decide to go a bit aggressive. I think I can get on his inside, get a little loose and tap him right on the back. Felt really bad about this one. I pull off, really want to let him get back ahead of me. Unfortunately, we lose one position here. He gets righted relatively quick, let him go back on by. Just really wish in that moment I had backed off a little bit. It definitely wasn't worth the attack there. Luckily, he was a really good sport. We had a nice little exchange after the race. Apologized for that hit, but unfortunately, either way, it looks like I've lost the podium in this one due to my own mistakes. And all I can do now is kind of resume racing, try to catch back up to him, see if I can do it cleanly the next time. Now I'm going to let the rest of this one play out. We ended up having a pretty good battle. Still was unable to find a way around him, but nonetheless had a lot of fun racing with him. Now if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. This is a very, very new thing for me, but I'm having fun giving it a try. As you've seen, I have a lot to learn, and I don't really want to hide my mistakes. But for me, it really comes down to just, I've always enjoyed the idea of racing, and this is an accessible way for me to do it. Hoping that over time my pace comes down, which I know will take a lot of practice, and I'm not holding out for it. But either way, thanks for coming along for the ride, and now I'll leave you till the end of the race. Alright, that wraps up my second LFM Rookie Sprint race here at Zolder, and thanks again for watching. If you did like it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely weird for me to ask for that kind of thing right now, but otherwise, have a good one, and we'll see you next time.